Get ready for the show, it's about to begin. Pro fan talk when we dive right in. Sports talk, hot takes, ain't nothing we lack. We the real fans, nothing holding us back. Mic check, 1, 2, y'all know the drill. We bringing the energy, we keep it real. Touchdowns on liquid air, on the slam dunks on the court. Every sport, every game, we holding down the fort. We breaking down the plays, dissecting the stats. Pro fan talk, we keeping it fat. Debating with passion, no filter, no doubt. We the voice of the fans, we scream and we shout.
What's going on, good folks? Happy Tuesday to you. Welcome to the Pro Fan Talk. My name is Marcus Thomas. Welcome. We have had a week, man. We've had the NCAA women's tournament, the NCAA men's tournament. You still got stuff going on in free agency. It's been nonstop, man, and been kind of crazy. Had an opportunity, as I told you guys last week, went down to the Eagles lounge party so we could, see the Super Bowl trophy. So had a chance to connect with some old partners, some old teammates. And one of my friends that I ran into, and I was like, I remember seeing this guy at the last Super Bowl celebration in 2017. And I was like, got to get you on, want to get you on the podcast, talk to you. Saw him at this one a couple weeks ago. And he was like, all you got to do is call me. So I called and saw him at the trophy celebration, and we talked, connected. We made it happen. So without further ado, coming in, he's sliding in the home plate right now as I start the show. My man, Darwin Walker. Darwin, what's going on, brother?
Not much, man. Not much. I hope that I'm all set up properly here. You know, I'm trying to get it right.
You good. How you been, bro? Good to see you.
I've been good, man. I got a quick question for you. Should I turn my phone sideways or straight up and down like that is fine?
You're good like that. Like that.
Okay.
No worries.
I didn't know if that way would have been better.
You can leave it like that. It looks better, but let me see. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Okay.
Sound is good. You look good. It's all good, man. So
perfect, man. I'm happy to be on. Thanks for inviting me, by the way.
Absolutely, man. A lot of that stuff is my fault because I get so busy and like, man, you got my number. Why don't you just call? So,
yep.
So it is what it is, man. But it was good seeing you at the Super Bowl parade. You stayed down at the end, and you stayed at the spot by NovaCare, right? Remember, we could have went to the art museum.
Oh,
yes, they had a spot.
Yes.
How was that? I hadn't heard anything about that part of it.
It was cool. I had some prior business obligations that I had to tend to, so I couldn't go and be a part of the parade because it was going to be like 4 to 6 hours, 4 to 6 hours, something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, I did it the last time, and this time, even though I was just as happy, if not happier, I just couldn't do it, because of prior obligations. But what I did, I stayed at the front, and I got, I saw the guys and just kind of wished them off right at the beginning. Said hi to everybody, whatnot, and that was it, man. But it was cool. Right. It was really cool. It for me, it's kind of bittersweet because and I know we probably talk about it later, but for me, it was like. That I just wish, I don't want to say I envy those guys because I don't want it to have a negative connotation. But, the fact that I played in the Super Bowl and I didn't get over that final hurdle, not just that I played in, but I was one of the main guys in that team. And so I had a real impact. But anyway, I'm still happy for my guys, man. I bleed green, baby, still.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. Absolutely, bro. And listen, I will say envious because to me,
you go ahead and take it there, huh?
I will take it, man. Because listen, I played for Kotite, bro. I played in '93.
Okay, so, wow.
it was a lot different back
Yeah.
then. You know, Jeffrey had just bought the matter of fact, I played for Kotite my rookie year. Norman Brayman owned the team still. That
Oh
second
wow.
year was when Jeffrey bought the team, and I can't even say things started to change because he had,
Okay.
I mean, he hadn't even pulled the sticker off the package yet. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
So
right.
the what I appreciate, and I'll say I'm envious because we had a good owner. We didn't have somebody charging us for extra socks and for cleats and all of that type of stuff. It was just the way they do things now, and even when you was playing, man, it was just totally different. Because by then, Jeffrey Lurie had his footing. He was well known in the league, and you could see the changes had already been made. So
Right.
things was already going down, man. So I'll say that, man. At least you got to play. I never got there. I played that second year, and then y'all had a running back by the name of Charlie Garner came in there and changed the game. And then, when Charlie Garner came in, I got that knock from the Turk on the door, like, yeah, bring your playbook. so,
Wow.
it's one of them things, man. That's how the game goes, man. But
Right.
I'll tell you what, man. We were talking. I was talking to Irvin Fryer a couple weeks ago. It was like, man, wish we could have that conversation with our parents, man. Wish we would have been born a couple years later, so we can participate in some of this money these jokers is making, man. And you talk about the boys at your position, man. Jalen Carter, Max Crosby, Milt Williams going to Patriots, making what, 90-something million dollars and 103 million. Like, good Lord, man. Where's this money coming from?
Well, I mean, it's crazy. I guess it's that TV revenue.
Yeah.
The money is so different. I mean, I'm not complaining about that either because I did well. I mean, my biggest contract though in my prime was $25 million.
Right.
Today, a guy that's a top 5 D tackle is easily 120 million. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I remember. It's funny you brought that up because I remember when I was playing, Harold Carmichael and Mike Quick and all them guys used to be around the facilities, and they would always talk about, man, you guys got it good. You don't even realize it. And how they were saying that in the off season they had to get jobs, and when they played, and I played in the 2000s, so. It was I couldn't really relate to it as well then as I can now because I'm looking at what guys that are at my equivalent to where I was at that time, what they're getting now, and it's like wow. So, but I ain't complaining. Again, I'm just explaining. Listen. God has been good to me, so I ain't complaining.
Absolutely, man. Just acknowledging the changes. That's all.
Exactly.
Just acknowledging the changes, man. And this, Carlos, appreciate the $5 super chat, man. One of my guys, Carlos, one of my members says, when you first arrived to the team, who was the player that you instantly clicked with? So the 04 team was the truth.
Yeah, well, I arrived in 2000 was my first year.
Okay.
The player that it was a lot of players. That's interesting. I was a young dude. It's going to surprise you when I answer this question, because the dude I clicked with was an old head. For some reason, he just he took a liking to me, and that was Bobby Taylor. You remember Bobby Taylor?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I used to hang out with Bobby like off the field, like away from the facilities. We just had a lot in common, and he was like I always looked up to him. He was always like the consummate professional. He was just a great dude, man. And I used to hang out with him a lot, like outside of the facility. He used to do he used to call it sing dings. But I would go to his events but I was friendly with mostly everybody, man. It's just that Bobby just kind of stood out a bit.
Yeah, I totally understand that, man, because I know when I got there in '93, me and Willie T clicked.
Okay.
And me and Willie T ended up being the best man at my wedding, dude. Like,
oh wow,
still tight to this day. So,
that's what's up.
So it's all about, people don't understand, like, yes, it's at the pro level, but you still have cliques and you still have groups that
Right.
if you ain't about going to the strip club, you ain't with that crowd. So
Right.
y'all
And
get together in the locker room, but when you go home, and the people that you have like interests with, that's usually who you hang with.
right. Right. And I ain't gonna. I'm not gonna front. I did indulge a bit, but I will say this: if I'm really, really keeping it real, when I first came in, I wasn't really the most liked dude from the stand because I came in. I wasn't drafted by the Eagles. You see what I'm saying?
Right,
I
you was
was
with
drafted.
Arizona, right?
That's right. I was drafted by Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah.
So when I came here, you know. Yeah, I just had a I don't want to say chip on my shoulder, but it
Bad
was
disposition.
yeah, I had a bad disposition, dude. And I
But
came in,
explain that, because the Arizona, what happened with Arizona? Because you didn't even you first of all, you were a third round pick, correct?
yeah.
And then next thing you know, you with the Eagles the same year. So did you get traded, or did you, like, how did that happen?
It's a long story, man.
Okay, if you don't want to get
I,
into it, you ain't got to get
no,
into it.
I'll
We'll get
get
into
into
weeds.
it, but I won't reveal everything.
Okay.
But I will
Okay.
say this: I went to
Appreciate you,
Arizona.
Carlos.
I went to Arizona, and first issue I had, it wasn't all the Cardinals' fault. It was partially my fault too. Because at first I went in there with a chip on my shoulder because I felt like I should have been the first D tackle chosen in the draft, right?
Right.
But my senior year I had some injuries and missed some games and didn't get to work out at the combine and do none of that. So um, and I slipped all the way to the third round. So I was a bit upset about that. And then I had, like I said, I had a bit of chip on my shoulder, and I go in there thinking, you know, and they were like terrible the year before that. So I'm
Right.
thinking I'm gonna go in there and just, tear it up. But anyway, I had the wrong approach, put it that way.
Right.
And when they let me go, and I came to Philadelphia, it was like a wake up call. Like you need to get be about your business and
Right.
go out here and earn your stripes. And that's what I did.
Okay. Because I mean,
So
it's a lot of people on the outside looking in do not understand that at the end of the day, this is still a business,
it's right.
right? And it's something that I always say: there's a lot of people that should be in the league that aren't,
That's true.
and there's a lot of people that are that probably should be.
That's true. Yeah.
So a lot of
Yeah.
times, trying to find your place in that world, on top of all the politics and all the other BS that goes on, the numbers game and all the other kind of BS that they tell us that we got to deal with. And every time you step on the field, there's somebody else trying to take your spot.
Right. That's
So
absolutely true. And you know, I think for me being young, it was, and just not, you learn real fast that it's a business when you get into the
facts.
game and in the league. And I've got some because I didn't leave. I mean, I was actually released from Arizona, but it wasn't until like the second or third game of the season.
Right.
And I had become really close with my coach, who was Mean Joe Green from the Steel Curtain.
Yeah.
Okay,
Absolutely. Legend.
and so even after I left the Cardinals and came here to Philadelphia, every time I had first off, when it first happened, he reached out to me and my family, my parents, and said, "Look, I had nothing to do with this."
Right.
And then, he wasn't on board with the decision. And then every good game I had with the Eagles for 7 years straight, he was one. Well, not all 7 years, but especially them early years, he was the first
Yeah.
call I get. I
That's what's
see
up.
you. I see you, pup. I see you. So when I was with the Cardinals, I actually wore 75 because of him.
Okay.
He
Okay.
insisted. He insisted. Like I didn't really want 75. I thought 75 was ugly.
Right.
But he insisted that I have his number. And
Now you had a
so
legend in your corner, bro.
yeah, man, we
That's
were
what's
tight.
up.
We were tight. So then when I left and came to Philadelphia and started doing real well, he was like my biggest cheerleader.
Right.
So I always respected him and appreciated him for that. So, but yeah, man, it was. I got when I came in, like I said, it was one of them things where I got into fights all the time. It was on the field, not off the field.
Right, right, right.
You know what training camp is like.
You know how it is when back when we used to bang.
Yeah, it was banging, it was grimy,
Yeah.
it was hard, it was different. It was way different back then.
Way different, bro.
Yeah.
Way different.
And,
I like to say nowadays they had newer days when we used to have 2-a-days.
right.
So
So I'm in training camp and I'm taking no prisoners. Like I'm going in there and I'm out there with the second group. So I'm killing the starters, right? They hated me. And it's funny, we still talk about that stuff to this day, but it was like
every team got one of them dudes.
Yeah. Listen, man, D-Walk, I was so happy, dude. And when they got you
every
over
team
there.
got one.
But yeah, man. So once I got my opportunity, I never looked back. So I started every game from that point forward till I retired.
Yeah, man. And see, that's the thing. The opportunity.
Yep.
Because you never know when you're going to get that. The politics that are involved.
Yep.
You never know when it can be taken away.
Regardless
of if it's your fault or not.
That's right. You know what happened for me to get my first opportunity? Hollis Thomas was coming out the tunnel, I believe, and stepped somewhere weird or something and broke his ankle or did something to his ankle, was out.
Wow.
And that's when I got an opportunity and I became the starter and that was the end of that.
Never look back.
No, never look back.
Absolutely.
That was that dude after that.
That was my college career. Couldn't get it to manifest in the pros, but that's exactly what happened to me when I was in college. Actually, here's a good tie-in for you since you got connection with the Steelers. I don't know if you remember him or not. Tim Lester. Tim Lester got drafted by the Rams. He was a fullback. And then he ended up blocking for the bus for Jerome Bettis.
Okay.
And when Jerome Bettis left the Rams and went to Pittsburgh, he got Pittsburgh to bring Tim Lester with him. So Jerome Bettis was the bus. Tim Lester was the bus driver. But Tim Lester was our starting running back at my college at Eastern Kentucky.
Okay.
And he right up the road at Delaware State in 1989. He was the starting tailback at EKU. He tore his ACL. And I stepped on the field and never got off, ended up breaking every 1AA rushing record at the time.
Oh, wow.
When Tim got his knee together, they brought him back as a fullback. So he blocked for me as a fullback that next year and ended up getting drafted and had a great career as a fullback in the league before he passed away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
so
that's a hard way to make a living at that spot.
Oof. I mean, anywhere in them trenches is crazy, dude. But woof, when you got to buck up against, that's the only one
I might put up there with D tackle.
Man, and you talking about back then in the mid to late 90s into the early to mid 2000s,
right?
When Mike linebackers still look like Mike linebackers,
right? With that
Ray Lewis was doing his thing. Man, these dudes came like I remember last year. When I don't know if you remember when all the stuff came out when Slade was complaining about people talking about his tackling and him and Seth kind of got into it. I was I
didn't hear about that.
Man, Seth was criticizing his tackling. I said some stuff on Twitter, but he really went at Seth talking about like he didn't know who he was and who was he to question me. I was like, bro, you really need to do your homework on this one before you start spouting off at the mouth.
Right.
Because Seth is a legend in this town, and Seth was my captain. And I'm like, I can tell you from firsthand experience, that joker know how to hit.
Yeah, so,
but they don't do that these days, man. They don't bang like they used to bang, man. And we was built different, bro.
I grew up watching Seth. Matter of fact, when Seth first came back to Philly recently in the last several years, I was on a flight. I don't know where I was coming from. I think he was going on coming from like somewhere in Florida, like a golf tournament or something. Because you know he play a lot of golf.
That sound like Seth.
And and we happened to be sitting together, and we were talking, man. And he's still intense, man. But I give him so much props because I grew up as a little kid watching Seth Joyner. I thought he was a monster. That defense period was just
Yeah.
Was great.
I was lucky enough, even though I'm a running back, I still say I was part of that team, the last piece of that gangrene defense. Seth
Okay.
and Willie T, Byron Evans, Eric Allen, Wes Hop, Andre Waters, Mark McMillan, Clyde Simmons.
Okay.
I mean, damn, dude, we had the fridge on our team that year.
Oh yeah, that's right.
The fridge. We had Mark Bavaro from the Giants. We had we had Keith Millard, who played a lot of good years at Minnesota. Then we signed Tim Harris from San Francisco.
And that was in 93?
That was in 93.
Wow.
That was in 93. So we still had a good squad, but that was the year we were 7-1, and Randall tore his knee at that game at the Jets. Okay. That was the game where you see the famous pick six by Eric Allen. That was that game.
I was a freshman in high school that year.
Yep.
Sophomore, man.
Yep. Bubby Brister went in the game. Bubby hadn't been on the team long enough. He didn't even know the offense. He was drawing stuff in the dirt. He didn't know the offense.
Yeah, that's crazy. Wow.
Well, yeah, we had players, man, and we was built different, bro. We was built different.
Yeah, that defense was serious. I mean, I like the D line, especially when they had Clyde and Reggie and Jerome.
Yeah,
man, that D line was something else. I got to know Reggie pretty good because
nice.
I went to Tennessee.
Right. That's right. Right.
And so at the time, he was playing for Green Bay, I believe, and he would come and talk to it. This was like the twilight of his career.
Yeah.
I think he was a Green Bay one of those years, and then Panthers after that. But he came and talked to us, talked to D-line, and he hang out with us a little bit at Tennessee.
Right.
And he had that raspy voice, and just a nice, great dude, man, great dude.
Never got a chance to meet him, man.
Really, he was. Oh yeah, he was already gone.
He was gone in '91.
Yeah.
And then Jerome Brown had passed the summer before.
Okay.
That was still. I remember a lot of the guys talking about that in preseason when Jerome Brown died, because they did a thing in camp. I think his wife and his kids came up, and they did a little thing for her at practice one day.
Okay.
So all of that stuff was still like fresh.
Yeah.
In '93 when that happened, man. So
yeah.
I'm trying to think. When were you at Tennessee? That'd have been 94 to 98?
No, I was there from 96 to 2000.
Okay. Because I know y'all won the title in 90.
Yeah, we won. Matter of fact, we were I was a captain of that team. And
right.
I was one of the captains. And then but we won, let me see. We at the time, now I think it's an Alabama class, or probably, definitely Alabama class is beating us out. But we were the winningest class in SEC history. We over a 4 or 5 year period, I think it was 4 years, we were 52-3 or something like that. 52-5.
Right.
Matter of fact, on my national championship ring, it has the record of that class.
Nice. And keep the ring shiny.
Yeah, man. So, but anyway, we had gone in 96. No, let me see. 96, I was ineligible because also, I went to NC State for 1 year.
Did you now?
Yeah, and I transferred to Tennessee, and so I had to sit out a year. And then in 97, we went to the so 96, I think we won the Citrus Bowl. That was Ohio State game when they had Eddie George.
Right.
And we beat them. And then 97 was who did we play? We went to the national championship that year. We played Nebraska. and lost. That was the Peyton year. So I was 2 years
Okay.
with Peyton, 2 years with Peyton Manning, and 2 years with T. Martin.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
so we lost to Nebraska. That was the Scott Frost, Armand Green, and all them guys.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
we lost. That was in '97, and then '98 we went when we lost Peyton and T. Martin took over.
Yep.
And matter of fact, T was offensive captain, I was defensive captain, and I'm sorry, that was the year after that. '98, Al Wilson was defensive captain, but we went to the national. That's the year we went to the national championship,
Yep.
and we played Florida State, and so Corey Simon was on that Florida State team.
Okay.
So I that was bragging rights. I killed him with that. Me and him were 5 years together in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So oh man, I went in on him on that. He hated it too.
Bragging rights is bragging rights, man.
Yeah, man.
I ain't mad at that.
And then '99, we went back to the Fiesta Bowl, and we lost again to Nebraska that time. So, but that class, man, we had a squad. We won the SEC championship 2 or 3 years in a row. We were back-to-back SEC champions and then national champions.
Y'all had the squads, man. That was the Peyton era, and a couple years after, man.
We had Peyton and T. Martin. Our running backs was Jamal Lewis. Remember him from the Ravens?
Absolutely.
We had Dante Stallworth at receiver.
Yep.
We had Peerless Price at receiver from the Bills.
Wow, Peerless Price.
Yeah. A blast from the past, right?
Absolutely, man.
And we had and that was just, the whole O-line with Chad Clifton with the Green Bay, played there forever. Chad Clifton was a tackle, played at Green Bay. I think he was during he was Rodgers era too. And then Cozy Coleman, bunch of guys old linemen that you won't know, but they all went to the league. And then on the defensive side,
who do we have from Tennessee? He was the first pick in '93. Anton Davis
and Charlie Garner.
Yeah, Charlie.
Yep. Charlie Garner.
Yep. Big Anton and Charlie Garner. Yep.
I remember both of them. Yep. And then on our defense, man, we had myself, Sean Ellis, who played for the Jets.
I was squatted up.
Leonard Little went to the Rams.
Yep.
Who else did we have? We had Al Wilson, who's our Mike linebacker with the Broncos. We had Deion Grant, the safety.
Man, that's why the SEC was so tight, bro.
Yeah, Dwayne Goodrich, the corner. The whole defense went to the league.
Can you just imagine the NIL money y'all would have had?
Oh my goodness. Dude, you know what's so funny? I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was like, man, I remember, this is a true story. I remember going to the bookstore, the campus bookstore, seeing my jersey on the wall.
Selling
and
I
could not afford to buy my own jersey.
Yep.
It was like $169 or something.
Especially at an SEC school.
Huh?
Man, I had my jersey up, and I went to little Eastern Kentucky in Richmond, Kentucky, and it was expensive. So I know a legit SEC jersey that was selling in the stores.
I could not afford to buy
crazy.
And now those kids getting paid. I shouldn't say kids.
Paid off of
them guys getting paid off of that now.
And they should be.
Absolutely. But I could not. But I looked at my jersey like, man, and I was excited because it was my jersey. They were selling my jersey, but
absolutely. But
I couldn't. I didn't have the money to buy it. And I was just like, it's so different now, man.
Different now, man.
And NIL money back then would have been crazy. You know what though, ridiculous. Marcus, I'm gonna keep it real with you. Even for myself, but particularly for my teammates, that wouldn't have been no good for us.
Nah.
Back then we wouldn't have been able to handle that, man. We wouldn't have.
You had to evolve into that.
Yeah, I think these kids now they've evolved. They have grown up in an era where that's part of it. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? And that would have been no good because we was out. I mean, not myself, but my teammates, dude, we was out of control, man. We was out of control. I'm just being honest with you.
It was an evolution. Hey, do you
Yeah.
remember two old heads from Tennessee? Because these dudes were from my high school, but they were 2 years ahead of me. I graduated in '88. So they
Okay.
would have graduated in '86. Darryl Hardy and Mark Fletcher. Darryl Hardy was a linebacker, and Mark
Yeah,
Fletcher
yeah.
was a safety.
Yeah, I remember Daryl. I never played with Darryl Hardy, but I remember
Yeah.
him. Yeah.
Darryl played a couple years for the Cowboys.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not sure if Mark made it to the league, but they was both from my high school, man. So,
Wow. What a
yep.
small world. Where'd you go to high school?
I'm from Cincinnati. Went with Cincinnati Princeton High School out of Cincinnati, Ohio.
Oh, okay. Wow. Wow.
Yep.
Trent Cole was from Cincinnati.
Trent
Wasn't
Cole, Brent Selleck. I saw Brent at the parade.
he? Yeah. Okay.
So him and Kelsey come in the room. So immediately I see Kelsey, and I'm like, Kelsey, I want a picture with the Ohio boys, right? Because he's from Cleveland. And then immediately Selleck is like, "You from Ohio? Where you from?" I said, "Man, I'm from Cincinnati." He's like, "Get out of here! I'm from Cincinnati." I ain't even realize it.
Wow.
He right there from Cincinnati, went to LaSalle
Yeah.
High School. I forgot he went to UC. Both of them went to UC.
Yep.
So right down there, man. But yeah, small world, bro. You never know you
Yeah.
run into.
So Trent and I, we were teammates for several years. So
Yeah.
that joke, I remember he came in, man. He was funny. He was a piece of work.
Man. The stories we could tell, bro.
Yes.
The stories
Yeah.
we could tell.
Yep.
So I want to double back on some stuff when you talked about the 04 Super Bowl loss, which was to the Patriots again.
Mhm.
Comparatively to what you saw like in 22, and then first 2017. Because I talked about this. I had Dave Spadero on a couple weeks ago, right?
Mhm.
And the question was like, how did you feel the first one in 2017 and this one? And I was like, the first
and
one,
he was with us in 2004.
yeah. But in 17, like that was just elation because you got over the hump.
Right.
This year, I was telling him, I was like, that was part joy and part rage. Like, just because I was so tired of hearing the shit they was talking on Jalen and what we could and couldn't do, and the stuff that was going on in the locker room and folks not getting along and the beefs and all this kind of stuff. I got a running joke where I say, I am on a quest to find out who this guy named Sources is. Because
Right.
sources know every damn thing. Sources
Right,
close to the
right.
information. Sources saying AJ Brown is mad. Sources say there's a split in a locker room. And I'm like, it don't go down like that, man. It don't go down like that. So what was your thought like in 2017, especially after your experience in 04? And then to what you saw, a couple months ago.
Oh, I mean, 04 was, that was very hard for me.
I'm broken, bro. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, I just gotta be honest with you. That was very hard. I sat on the field and I watched the confetti come down at the end, and it's funny. It's a picture of me on the internet just sitting on the bench, and like
I saw it. I got it. I saw that picture.
I was like, man, of all the pictures, right?
You just got that look on your face, like
I got this disgusted look. Yeah, so it's one of them things, bro, that is just it's hard. I mean, it's gotten better, but I used to wake up in the middle of the night chasing Tom Brady still. I know it's funny, but it's true. And then to find out that they probably was cheating, that they were cheating anyway. Oh my God. Yeah. I actually told Bill, I said, look, man, when they scrimmaged the Eagles back, I forget what year that was. I saw him at practice, him and Tom, and I said, I want my ring back.
Want a refund, bro.
Yeah, y'all was cheating. And he looked at me, he laughed. I said, I ain't laughing, I'm serious.
Man,
Herbert got on the bus.
Man, screw them deflated balls, man. But that watching practice and all of that nonsense.
That's what it was, the video, and yeah. So, but yeah, really for me, 27. The fact that we won it against
Yeah.
the Patriots,
Yeah.
that felt good. You
That
know.
felt, and we took his best shot.
Yeah,
That
we
Joker
did.
threw for 500 yards
Yeah, we
in
did.
that game.
Yes, he did. Yes, he
And we
did.
still,
And
and
that's
the
why I
backup
love.
got the best out of you.
And that's why I love BG so much, man.
Love him.
BG is
Exactly.
my guy.
Yep.
You know, I mean, you know, like he's been a consistent presence on that D line forever,
Yep.
and in my opinion, one of the best defensive linemen in Eagles history.
I
You
can't argue
know,
with that, bro.
I mean, I really got a lot of respect for that dude, and the fact he's so humble and such a great guy. So
Yeah,
I
he a good
really
dude.
like BG, man. But he had a great game in that game, and he had a great career. But what I was going to say was, it was like you said, it was elation
Yeah.
because we finally got over the hump,
Yep.
and you know. But you know, and it helped a little bit, but I was still frustrated that we didn't get ours.
You still want yours, man.
I
You still
still
want
want
yours.
it, but that's all good, you know.
That's the way it goes.
I got my little NFC championship ring in there. Yeah, so
My boy Carlos hit us up again. This is for both of you. Knowing a player's competitive nature, was it hard the first year once your career was over, and were you at peace with it? It was hard for me because when I left, when I walked away from the game, my situation didn't end well because I ended up playing in the World League, played 3 years in the World League, won a championship in the World League. Then I went up and played in Canada. I was up playing with the Ticats.
okay.
And that last year was just not fun. And then long story short, they end up cutting me. And me and my wife hadn't been married long. She came up to Canada with me. We had just got an apartment up in Canada, right on Lake Ontario, 6-month lease.
Oh,
I get cut 2 weeks later.
dang.
Luckily, the landlady let me break my lease. She was a big
Wow.
Ticat fan, real nice old woman. She looked like something from a Pixar movie. She was an old white woman with bleached gray hair, bleached white gray hair. Sweetest thing in the world, man. And she loved all the football players, and she let me break my lease, man.
That's cool.
So, when you get cut or get released, you play the game, you call your agent, you know. So I called Buns and what's going on, and after about a week and a half, 2 weeks, I'm like, listen, we both up here, we both unemployed, and paying for our apartment up here and a house down in Jersey, and neither one of us got no job. So I was like, well, I got my degree. It's time to start pounding the pavement and do what you got to do, man. So
right.
for me, I had to make that grown up decision. So, and I say this all the time, the one thing I wish I'd have done different is as soon as I stopped playing, I wish I would have immediately got into coaching. Immediately.
Yeah.
But I stepped away from it and stayed away from it for a couple years, but I wish I'd immediately got into coaching. What was your experience like?
You probably would have been a head coach by now.
Ain't that something?
Mm-hmm. My experience is a little bit different because I walked away from the game myself.
Okay.
I mean, I got offers to go play for about at least 3-4 years, even after I retired.
Yeah.
But for me, once I left Philadelphia, it just was nothing like Philly.
Right.
It was hard to play in this town. You had to have thick skin and all that, but the passion was unlike any other place I had ever been to.
Absolutely.
But I left here not under the best of circumstances, and because the Eagles traded me, and that's why I love Howie Roseman so much too. Is at the time Howie was what's his name, Joe Banner's assistant.
Yes.
And I thought Howie I think he's really good. I think a lot of him. Joe Banner is all right.
Agreed.
But what happened was that they gave me permission to go out and find a trade because we couldn't agree on a contract.
Right.
And I still had like a year or two left on my existing contract. And so I went out and I had trades done with not trades. I had deals done, concepts done with like 3 teams.
Right.
Trying to remember who it was. I think it was Atlanta Falcons. I think it was the Chicago Bears and and I believe the other one was Giants. No, Redskins. But I knew they weren't going to do the Redskins deal because they didn't want me
in the division.
In the division.
Yeah.
But I thought the Bears deal might actually happen. So they basically sabotaged the deal with the Redskins because I remember at the time they asked for, who did they ask for?
Something stupid.
It was a first round pick and a good running back at the time, I think. It wasn't Clinton Portis. It was the other one that had came on and did real well. I forget his name now. But anyway, and so they basically sabotaged all those deals, and they went and did a deal with Buffalo, and came back. And so it's a long story. I won't go through the whole thing, but Buffalo and the Eagles ended up trading me to Buffalo, and then Buffalo traded me to Chicago in the same season because I refused to go to Buffalo for the same reason.
Right.
I still don't understand why Buffalo even got involved. It was like, the Eagles, I mean, we already in a contract dispute with the Eagles. Why even get involved? Well,
because the Eagles probably promised them something.
They did. And I didn't know that at the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, and I'll tell you what it was. And I'll tell you what it was. It was because they traded me for Takeo Spikes, the linebacker, and Kelly Holcomb, a quarterback, I think it was.
Okay.
But if I didn't report by a certain date, the Bills had the right to send me back to Philadelphia and be compensated with like a second round pick or something, or a first round pick. I don't know what it was now. So it's so crazy, but and I've really never told this story publicly, but Buffalo then trades me to Chicago. And I can't even talk about all the stuff that happened in between because you got tampering and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of rules in the league that
they didn't follow.
Matter now because who cares? But anyway, Buffalo then trades me to Chicago, but they didn't really want the Eagles to know that they were trading me to Chicago because I never reported to Buffalo.
Right.
And because I never reported, I had that the trade is not consummated until you report, take the physical, pass the physical, and all of that. So I had to. They didn't want the Eagles to try to claim to get me back. So I had to fly to Buffalo, and without the media seeing, I took a physical in like a dark storage room, and blacked out SUVs. It's a crazy story, man.
Damn, man.
And so then I take the physical, I get back in the SUV, and I immediately fly to Chicago, and they announce the trade the next morning. Second round pick. They traded me to Chicago for a second round pick, and but I wanted to go. I mean, I was happy with going to Chicago because Chicago was one of the teams that I had an original deal done with before the Eagles. You see what I'm saying?
When you was trying to find something on your own, man.
I had already had that deal, but I had to go around I had to go a different route to get there. And of course, Chicago used the fact that that they had to give up a second round pick and it was already late in the training camp. They used all that against me in the negotiations, and they paid all the fines. Buffalo was fining me like $15,000 a day back then.
Damn.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Listen,
so
man,
but I wanted to go to Chicago because that's my wife's hometown.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and so we went there, played a year, and then I wanted to play in my hometown of Carolina before I retired, and so I went there and played a year, and that was it. And I got offered deals to play. I was offered by several teams for like 3 years after I retired. They come back and and I was like, nah, I'm good. I walked away on my own volition.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
So far, hey, listen. So all y'all listening to this podcast, and y'all talk about players being greedy and not honoring the contract. Nobody honors the contract, especially the owners and the team. They do not honor them contracts. It's a lot of backroom stuff that's going on that the public does not see. Don't get it twisted.
Don't get it twisted. I can give you even more details.
We are the ones that got to play the game, but the game ain't fair at all.
True. It's true.
So
I could give you all kinds of details that would shock the world, but I don't think I want to go that far. But
man, it's some crazy stuff, man. And
yes,
the athletes are always painted in that bad light, like we doing something wrong, breaking the contract. You got to honor the contract you signed for. Man, shut up.
yeah,
Y'all don't know what y'all
exactly,
talking about.
exactly.
It's not fair. And they get
And
us a lot of times.
the teams are clever about it too. What they'll do is they'll say, okay, here's a $50 million contract with you're going to earn $5 million in the first 4 years, and you're going to earn $45 million in the last
At
two.
the last
And
year.
then they leak it to the public, to the
Yep.
media, right? And the fans only hear, wait, he turned down a $50 million contract. Well,
Exactly.
but they don't know, they don't realize, yeah, because he's gonna. It's really not a $50 million contract. They're gonna cut him before he ever gets to the real money.
Exactly.
So it's clever how they do that because they know how to use the PR machine to put pressure on the players to make
Absolutely.
bad deals. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. That's why when you look at what the Eagles are doing now, and to your point about Howie Roseman, we have become a destination team where veterans want to get their last shot at a Super Bowl ring or something here.
Right.
I remember
right.
3 years ago when Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh signed here because this was a legitimate shot to get their shot at the ring. So
right.
And that hasn't changed anything, especially with the year we just had. So, but not for nothing, most of this is because of because Howie will take care of the players that ball out. Nobody saw Zach Bond coming. Nobody saw Reed Blankenship undrafted coming.
No,
so Howie's proven that we do our homework.
Howie's amazing, bro. I mean, I give him his props. I mean, what he's done.
Wizard of Philadelphia, right there.
Yeah, nobody saw what was going to happen with Zach. I mean, wow. That's all I got to say.
I'm lucky enough. When we signed Zach Bond, I remember going back and looking at tape, and I just said, he don't play a lot, but when he gets his opportunities, he makes the most of them.
That's right.
So, but I thought the same like everybody else. He'll be a supreme special teamer, and he'll be a good backup. Nobody saw this coming.
Right.
But just like, again, to your point, man, when you get that opportunity, man, and I love seeing dudes make the most out of their opportunities. I love seeing, especially like somebody like, for example, like Reed Blankenship from Tennessee Tech. Shout out because we used to play them and they was in the OVC. That's 1AA. That's my territory. So when I see dudes from small schools like Jalix Hunt, I'm like, man, do your thing, man. Because at some point in time, somebody told him like that they couldn't play because they went to a small school or something like that. Like, man, all these dudes just need their little opportunity and make the most. When you get your hands on the ball, when you get your hands on that quarterback, do what you know how to do. Because at the end of the day, don't matter if you in a 100,000 seat stadium or a high school stadium, 100 yards is 100 yards. Don't change.
Exactly. That's exactly right. It's funny because this year when they drafted Jeremiah Trotter Jr., who was, of course, Trot was one of my teammates. Yep. And I called Jeffrey. I said, all right, Darwin Walker Jr. is coming.
Set the plate. I ain't mad at you.
That's right. That's right. So my oldest is a senior in high school this year at Cherokee High School. And,
okay.
Here in New Jersey. Yeah. So he had a hell of a junior year really too, but his senior year was amazing.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of him, man. And he got lots of opportunities, but he ended up going to Princeton. He committed to Princeton.
Get out of here.
Yes, my oldest son is going to Princeton. I'm so proud.
The Ivy League.
Yeah, I'm so proud of him, man. So proud of him. And so he, and it's like he was he had opportunities in other places. But I told him, I said, look, because these kids now, they look at the Power Five and it's like, they feel like they're half a step out the NFL. And I'm like, nah, not really, because you still gotta go, play. You gotta go make it happen and get the opportunity.
This ain't the NBA.
Yes.
It's a
And
little bit different.
I said, and even if you do make it in that world, football is such a small part of your life, right? I mean, if you're fortunate to even make it, and if you make it, if you're fortunate to even play more than a year or two,
Right.
it's just that much of your life. I mean, I'm one of the rare few who had a long, decade-long career in the NFL.
Right.
But a lot of things had to go my way, and so what I was explaining to him is that Ivy League education will be with you forever.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so remember that, and so I was able to convince him that this was a massive opportunity, because he had opportunities from lots of Ivies, but Princeton worked out really well. We really liked the coaching staff.
Right.
And so yeah, man. So yeah, my son, look out for him the next few years.
All right.
He's that guy.
All right. I'm about to get him on the cast, man.
He played corner in high school, and I think they're gonna play him at nickel at Princeton. So
Okay.
Yeah.
What's that speed like? He in the 4.3s, 4.4, 4.3 yet?
You know what? He might be now. He wasn't, about 8 months ago, but I would say, yeah, he might. I think he probably 4.4, 4.5, 4.4, probably 4.4.
How big is he?
He's big. He's 6'3", about 205.
I end up moving him to wide receiver, bro.
They could, but I mean, but yeah, but
hey, if he can backpedal and open them hips,
huh?
If he can backpedal and open them hips,
there you go.
So
there you go.
Or mess around like the way they play defenses now, he might find himself at outside linebacker.
I can see that. They talk about. I mean, that nickel position they play now
that's basically a linebacker.
It's basically an outside linebacker. Really, that's all it is. Because they rushing a lot of the time. And then, but it's nice to have that cover skill. Like he got the cover skill. He got a corner cover skills. So
my man said that's a big nickel. Damn right, that's a big nickel.
Yeah. And he's excited, man. I'm excited for him. So yeah, I'm definitely want to send him a shout out. My son. You got to send him a shout out on the podcast, man.
I will do that, man. What's his name?
Darwin Walker.
He's junior.
Yeah.
Darwin
Well, he's
Walker
the second.
Jr.
He's Darwin Walker the second, but yeah.
The second. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Darwin Walker the second. I'll be watching him for the Princeton Tigers.
There you go.
Right, we got an Ivy League connection.
There you go, man.
Absolutely,
so I'm
man.
so excited, dude. I don't know what to do with myself.
That's what's up, man. You get to be a parent for once. What was the looking at my notes on my iPad here? You were you were with the Birds during the benchmark beef of Donovan and T.O. Right?
Yeah.
I want to juxtapose that with how these guys are doing it now. I guess with the advent of social media, you played kind of right when that kind of started.
Yeah, I was here when T.O. got here and when he left.
Yeah, but I'm looking at it from the standpoint of just because we had never seen anything like that. It was a different. Social media wasn't around yet. I think when you played, I think maybe MySpace had just started. So at the very infancy of it. So it wasn't what it is
I think
now.
Facebook came around by the time I retired, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're right. You're right.
But just the attitudes and like, and I'm looking at that as that was a real issue. And then I see the comments that happened with everything that happened between Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown, and I was like, that ain't no beef. That ain't that ain't a problem.
Yeah.
That's stuff like that happens in the locker room every time, man.
Yeah. Well, my whole career in Philadelphia was with Andy Reid and the Donovan McNabb era.
Yeah.
But it's funny you brought up T.O. because literally just a few weeks ago he was here. He was at my house. Not a few weeks. It's actually been a month or two now. But me and him, we while we were together with the Eagles, he played basketball. I used to like playing basketball, so we used to always, talk trash and whatnot. So finally, he got out here, and I had to show him a few things on my court. He probably gonna call me a liar, but I got a basketball court in my backyard, so we got back there and got in a little bit. But yeah, man, T.O. is just. He's just a little different. He just misunderstood a little bit, but
Yeah,
but it was interesting, man. The whole, I mean, it definitely was an issue, but I didn't have a problem with either guy. I love both of them.
The only reason I bring that up is like I was saying, when all of the stuff that we had during this Super Bowl run with AJ and Jalen, and I was thinking, I was like, if y'all think that's bad, if only you could hear some of the shit that we say to each other during film session.
Right? Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
It
was
is
nothing. There's nothing.
And again, people on the outside looking in will never be privy to that. Plus, again, we're talking about something from this dude named Sources. And sometimes I'm like, hold on. I mean, the Donovan T.O. thing, it was so public, there was no hiding that. Right. So just from that alone, that was a little bit different. But now you got to look at it and you got to say, all right, let's think logically here. So you mean to tell me there's somebody in the locker room that's snitching and going out and telling people something? And I'm like, if the guys on the squad knew who that person was or discovered where that leak was coming from, it would be hell to pay.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, that's the guys on the radio and the media heads on ESPN, they making it up, they guessing. I was like, because if somebody in your family, you thought somebody in your family was snitching, you would handle that problem. So I guess I'm saying I just find it funny because nobody really understands the dynamic that goes on in a locker room. It's different. It's very familial. It's very tight-knit. And these dudes, these media heads ain't just getting a story because they heard it from somebody. That's bullshit. It don't go down like that. Ain't nobody sending that information out and snitching on their teammates because if they got found out, it'd be a problem.
Yeah. I mean, I never did that. If somebody was doing that, that definitely would be a problem for sure. But it's different eras too. Now it's different today.
Yeah.
These dudes they're coming in the league with publicists.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like they didn't have that back then.
Dude, just the people talking on the damn podcast, bro. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Keep the locker rooms, keep the Micah. Shut up, bro. You good. You ain't got to tell all the business. I don't understand that, man. But
I will say this though, that I think back then, I'm not going back to your era, but I'm just talking about in mine. I feel like a lot of players were brainwashed. Like you were told from high school to college to the pros, don't talk to the media. Don't give them
nothing to feed. Don't feed
bulletin board material. Yeah,
exactly.
And honestly, nowadays I feel like the guys who did do that marketed themselves better than than everybody else. I mean, you remember those guys that were in the media that that spoke out and said controversial things and all that. Those are guys you remember. You don't remember the Joe Schmoes who kept their mouth shut and did what they're supposed to do and this and that. So I understand a bit more now why people are more willing to speak out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a lot of money to be made. But plus, you still, I know it was when I played, and I think it was still going on when you was playing. if a beat reporter said something or wrote something about you, they still came in the locker room and had to stick a mic in front of your face. So you still had to have the guts. Whatever you wrote, you was gonna see that dude face to face.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So now that's completely gone.
Mm-hmm.
You got a couple of the beat reporters, but because Philadelphia is only for Philadelphia, when Colin Cowherd and all these other ones are saying what they say from LA and Bristol and all these places, and we'll never see them people face to face.
Right.
So there was a level of
We
accountability.
did. I think that era it changed a bit. We did. We saw them in a lot. We would see the at that time it was like Jim Rome and
Yeah.
And speaking of Stephen A. was just a beat. I think he was a beat writer in Philly. He was
17 years at the Philadelphia Inquirer. Yeah,
man, he really. I'm proud of him because he really blew up. But he was in the locker room, not daily, but often. And but we did have national report. But we was also going to NFC Championship every year, Super Bowls. So
right.
we were really good,
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of attention around the team. And so we had a lot of those folks in the locker room.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it was a different world back then, man.
Yeah.
Different world back then. We did it different. And you said earlier, man, it is just different. And I always laugh because now, like, I'm the get off my lawn guy. I'm the old dude, like back in my day, but it's just, these kids they got it made with the money. All of the high profile stuff, like I was saying, Micah. I remember saying, I did a video about Micah Parsons. It was his rookie year. And I remember literally saying, if Micah Parsons just plays football down in Dallas, if he does not drink the Kool-Aid, he will be one of the greatest defensive edges we've ever seen. That next year he drank the Kool-Aid, and now it's crazy. He's still good, but he's dealing with all the other BS.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I never, kind of tying it back to the whole Donovan and T.O. thing, never thought I would see anything as disruptive as that.
Yeah.
But some of the stuff you see right now with people beefing on podcasts and all of that type of stuff, it makes that look tame by comparison.
Right.
Because at the end of the day,
I feel like that team was sort of a hybrid. Like that era in Philadelphia was a hybrid because we were kind of like, we had a lot of the aspects that they have now. We had those national writers in the locker room. We were a really who's on top. You know what I mean? And so, but in the beginning, when I first got here, my first year was 2000. They was coming off a 99 season that was terrible.
Yeah.
And so they was still, it was just, they looked at us like the same old Eagles, but we started ringing off the wins, man, ringing them off. And then the team became a lot more attention around the team. You know what I mean?
Was that Donovan's second year starting?
That was his second. His first year was 99. Mine was 2000.
Right. When was Donovan's rookie year? Was that
his rookie year? Was 99.
But that's when Doug Peterson played.
And that's when Doug Peterson was his backup, I think.
Right.
No. Okay. Donovan was a backup, and then year they benched Doug and Donovan played. Yeah.
They brought Doug in to teach Donovan the offense because he was from Green Bay too.
Right.
Because I remember I thought Doug Peterson was garbage as a quarterback, but you understand what they was trying to do.
Right. And then I came in 2000. My first week with the Eagles was the legendary pickle juice Cowboy game. That was my first week here. Yep.
The pickle juice game.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So, yep. And so anyway, that was my first week here, and then after that, we started winning. Yeah. We started winning, man, and it just became more Hollywood around here.
had that defense. And then you had an offense. You had a quarterback that was doing things, and we had a squad, man. But just
exactly.
Couldn't get over the top, man. Was that the year we lost to? No. The Patriots. I'm thinking of whatever that year was, where we whooped up on Tampa Bay and John Gruden, and then later in the season he came back and just destroyed us.
Yep. Well, I wouldn't say they destroyed us, but they definitely beat us.
Yeah.
If I recall, because I think that's the one Rondé Barber caught the pick
Yes.
at the pick, and yeah.
Yeah.
Don't remind me. Yeah.
Well, all right, man. We've been rocking for about an hour and 5 minutes, man. So appreciate finally getting you on, man. It's been my fault. I've been lax trying to get in touch. So I'm gonna have Brandon Whiting on in 2 weeks.
Okay.
So I'm gonna talk to him. So
Brandon is actually probably the smartest player that I've ever played with.
yeah.
And I bet a lot of guys that was on that team would second that opinion.
Yeah.
Because if you think about Brandon was not really he wasn't really that athletic, right? I mean, he just always knew where the ball was. He knew the play before the play, and he was so good at it.
Bro.
And
I'll be trying to tell people, if you really want to be
coach.
a fan, study the game. Study the game. Know what you're looking at.
Know what you do. You can be so much better player that way.
You don't have to be the biggest, strongest, fastest, but if you know where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be there, that makes all the difference in the world.
That's Brandon. Because he knew where the ball was, he didn't need to be the best athlete. He just always knew where the ball was going. Yeah. And like I said, I think he would have been an awesome coach. He'd have been an awesome coach. I think his father was actually a coach in
you know what? I'm gonna bring that up. That up. I'm gonna say Darwin said you was the smartest man in the NFL.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You can bring that up. You can bring it up. I stand by it.
All right, brother, man. I appreciate your time, bro. I'm definitely let me know, man. I will put your son on. I'll bring him on the podcast if you want to talk about right before going to school or whatever. Yeah. For sure, man. We can do that.
Let's do it. I'm sure he'd love to talk about Princeton and
absolutely.
And what it's like growing up as a former player's kid, and absolutely, I mean, he was around toward the end of my career, so he don't remember a lot of it. But
did I ever see you? Did you ever come into the Apple store when I was working there at Cherry Hill
at the mall?
Yeah. No, I used to work.
I went there, but I didn't know he was working there.
Because I know I ran into Trot a couple times. Mm-hmm. I ran into Stephen A. Smith came in a couple times. We used to have a lot of people that would come in. I just remember this one particular time, Trot came in. So I saw him and we kind of recognized each other. We chopped it up a bit, but my manager at the store had just told me the story of her son played his first football game. He got knocked out of the game and didn't want to play no more. And it was Trot Jr. that did it.
Oh my goodness.
It was Trot Jr. that did it. So when Trot came in, I said, hold on, dog. I gotta introduce you to somebody. So I bring my manager out and she's like, hey, what can I do for you? I was like, Toby, I just want to introduce you. This is Jeremiah Trotter, former Eagle. It was his son that knocked your son out of the game. And she was like, she got all embarrassed. Trot was laughing at me, man. Like I see stuff like that.
Yeah. I definitely went to that Apple store, but I got one right here down up the street from me in Marlton. So
in Marlton, yeah.
Yeah.
The Sagemore store, yep. Some of my friends are working over there now.
Okay.
Yeah, man. I was with Apple for like 13 years, bro.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow.
You don't remember the first get together for the Super Bowl. And then we was in the room at the art museum.
Yes.
And Harold Carmichael was like, everybody introduced themselves. Because I remember I was like, I'm the nerd guy. I'm the guy you want to ask your Apple questions to and all that kind of stuff. Because somebody had asked me, like, yo, why is my wife receiving all my phone calls and something like that? I was like, dude, just hit me up and I'll help you out.
Okay, I remember seeing you there at that. Yeah.
Yep.
So I remember that. Man.
That was a long day, bro. You wasn't wrong on that one. That was a
Yeah,
long day.
a long day. I couldn't do it
So,
this time.
yeah, it was a little bit better. They had a nice, quiet room for us. They brought beer in.
Okay.
They had sandwiches and they had all of that. Because you remember that first time it was kind of impromptu. It was like they didn't have nothing set up. We had to ask. We were just standing around, man.
Right,
They
right.
didn't have nothing set up for us, so it was a little bit better this time. So
That's cool. I'm glad they had a nice setup
yeah.
for everybody.
But I'm gonna let you get up out of here, bro, man. I appreciate your time, brother, for real. We'll definitely have to do this again when the season get closer.
Yeah,
Um,
just let me know anytime, man. I got you.
yeah, I'm gonna be hitting you up for some contacts too, man. I am trying to
Hit me up for some what now?
contacts
Okay.
because I want to like connections, like hook me up with somebody that can bring on the show. I'm trying to utilize all my connections, man, because I'm trying to grow this podcast and I'm
Right.
trying to do something that everybody else ain't doing. So
Right. Well, you're doing a
um,
really good job with it, man. I love all the the graphics and everything. So
that's what graphics is my thing, bro. So
okay,
I'm a nerd when it comes to stuff like that, man. So
okay. Yeah,
I,
I'm it's funny, I'm not around that many guys anymore in the business I'm in, but yeah, but I definitely can hook you up.
all right, bro. We'll make something happen, and we'll definitely get So what's your son's nickname? We gonna call him D2?
DJ.
DJ? Okay, we'll get DJ on the
Mhm.
podcast, man. We can
Let's
talk
do it.
to him.
Whenever you're ready. I don't know if we want to do it. I don't know. Maybe we could do it right before he goes to Princeton,
That'll work.
or I don't know. I'll talk to him about it and see
Okay.
when he wants to do it. And
On his time, whenever he's convenient with it, man. I'll make it work.
okay, all right, and I'll
All
put
right.
you guys in contact.
You got it, brother. I appreciate you, man.
All right, man. Good seeing you too.
You too, bro. Talk to you soon.
Go Eagles.
Go Birds. That's what's up, man. That was a good conversation with Darwin, man. I had been talking about this for a while. And then he kind of he kind of threw it back in my face because I saw him when I was at the NovaCare getting ready to go to the parade. And I was like, "You going to the art museum?" He was like, "Nah, I'm gonna stay here. I got stuff to do," like he said. And I was like, "I got your number. I'm gonna call you and get you on the podcast." He was like, "That's what you said last time." So I was like, "Man, we got to make this happen." So good conversation, man. A lot of things, a lot of stuff I didn't know, like all of the contract games that people play. Listen, man, that is some real stuff. That is some real situations that players have to go through. A lot of the behind the scenes backstab and stuff that used to happen, and for the most part still happens in the league. It's just that the Eagles are in a situation where with Howie Roseman running the show, at least I don't think we do stuff like that anymore. It is a lot of politics, and like I said, it's a lot of people that are in the league that shouldn't be, and there's a lot of people that should be that aren't. So you got to play the game, and the game ain't fair, man. So, but that was a phenomenal conversation with Darwin, man. I appreciate it. Appreciate you, brother. And I'm gonna be clipping this up and sending it to him, man. And yeah, chat was lively. Appreciate everybody in the chat. Carlos, I appreciate you with the super chats, bro. And if you didn't know, number one, please hit like and subscribe. Click that like button, hit subscribe. And number two, memberships are available. Memberships are open. They start at I believe $2.99. And I got two tiers. I'll have a third tier later, but right now it's just two tiers. So if you want to become a member, memberships are open, man. So but yeah, good conversation tonight. I appreciate y'all in the chat. Nina, Tiffany, Cody K, Pat, Carlos, everybody in the chat, man. I appreciate y'all. Eagle Stewart, everybody. Was fire tonight, and we're gonna try to keep this thing going. And don't forget, like I said, I will be having some content and going live next week. But next week is or this weekend is my anniversary. So in 2 weeks, or would it be next week? When is the third? Let me look at my dates. Let me look at my dates. Let me make sure. Is this next Thursday? Yes, next Thursday. Continue. So today is the 25th. So yes, next Thursday, April 3rd, Brandon Whiting is going to be on the show. Brandon Whiting. So stay tuned. We'll be continuing some stuff. I got a lot of NCAA content from the women's side. I really don't pay attention to the men too much. I've been watching the NCAA women's. You saw the stuff with Juju Watkins. I did a video about that last night. That is up on my channel with her tearing her knee. A lot of information. They getting down to the Sweet 16. So it's getting hot and heavy, man. But this has been a lot of fun, man. So I'm gonna keep on doing that, keep on creating that content. If you guys got some ideas on what you want to see, please give me that feedback. And we're gonna keep this thing going. But I'm gonna get up out of here. Appreciate everybody in the chat function. I see you down there. I appreciate you. And we're gonna do this tomorrow. All right. Peace. Go Birds.